Hey everyone, Jason Sherman with Strap On Your Boots. In today's episode, I have an entrepreneur, Sam Gupta. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason. I'm super excited to talk to your fun listeners.
That's right. And today we're talking about how to take your startup from $1 million to $10 million in revenue, which is a really cool topic because a lot of people, first of all, let's just say that we have to assume most entrepreneurs are not even going to be at the million range. So how would you start this off by saying, how can we get from $1 to $100,000 in revenue before we even get to the millions?
Yeah, so I have personally done it. So I'll tell you, what I had done, to be honest. I mean, there could be different stories depending upon what business you have. But typically, what I personally like to do is identify the business type. Whether it is going to be more of the consulting business or is it going to be more of the product-centric business, because the marketing approach for both of those could be different. But basically, what you want to do is you want to figure out, especially when you are at $1 stage, that how can you do some free marketing, because marketing could be expensive, as we all know. So if you are more of the consulting business, then I would probably go for existing channels, meaning you must have some sort of existing relationships. My assumption is going to be these entrepreneurs have worked somewhere, have some sort of relationships. So try to capitalize on relationships as much as possible.
And
Now,
when it comes to consulting, you mentioned that you have relationships, and besides that, when you're selling a service as a consultant, right? Is it safe to say that it's hard to scale that it's more of a lifestyle business because you're only one person and you can only help so many people in one day?
depending upon how the business is structured, I mean, I have seen billion-dollar consulting firm, that are in Fortune 50 at this point of time. I have also seen lifestyle businesses in the consulting space. So depending upon how you structure your business model, in most cases, yes, you are right. The consulting businesses are seen as dependent upon one person. Typically, that's how they are branded, they are marketed. But if you know how to market it well, a consulting business could be as good as your product business.
Can I have an example on how you can do that? Because from my experience, all the different consulting businesses I've run or people that I know, we are limited as to, again, how many people we're able to help in a given week, month, or year, because we can't clone ourselves. So how do you market it in a way that you can scale it?
So depending upon, again, depending upon what kind of services are we selling here. So for example, let's say if you are selling some sort of marketing services. In fact, I mean, see, our business is more of the consulting business. If I put myself as the bottleneck for every single deal, then obviously it's not going to grow. So what I need to figure out is how I can. So yes, you are right. You cannot clone yourself, but you need to figure out how to clone yourself. Okay.
What's the secret? Are we talking about science fiction or are we talking about reality?
Most consulting businesses actually go for the partnership model. They have the P&L partnership. That's how you will be able to retain the talent, especially the talent that is going to be as good as you, in terms of gaining the clients. So if you look at the consulting business model, if you look at, PwC, KPMG, Deloitte, Accenture, all of these are consulting companies and they are billions and billions of dollar organization, but they have the partner. So typically, let's say if you have the consulting business that is going to be your billion-dollar business. Now, if you actually slice in 10 to 20 to 30 to $40 million P&L and you give it to the partner, give them enough incentive so that they can actually capitalize on your brand, capitalize everything that you have from the core perspective so that they are not running more of the independent consulting business, then you can scale. In this way, you are actually cloning yourself.
That makes sense. So finding people that are as skilled as you or even better than you, partnering with them, splitting profits with them, splitting clients with them and the workload, and then I guess you can grow from there. Now, let's say that the people listening, let's say that they want to be consultants or they want to have a consulting company, but they haven't yet got to that point because they're afraid to leave their job, the security of their paycheck. Maybe they're married with kids, they have a mortgage. How would you recommend or suggest to somebody who has a really good skill or can provide a good service, but they can't yet make the jump from job to consultancy? What would you recommend to them to do it without a lot of friction?
So I'll give you the real life stories of the people that have done it, and I know at least 500 people who are doing this. One of the challenges that these people run into is how to basically leave the job that is actually paying you $250,000 or $100,000, and then all of a sudden you are probably going to make $40,000. So that's a huge sacrifice. But if you actually want to be entrepreneur, you have to be ready for that. You have to reduce your expenses. You have to figure out how to basically be an entrepreneur. That is always the biggest challenge for most people who are actually running the consulting firms.
Yeah, because in a sense, you're sacrificing the paycheck for your freedom, right? You're giving up a lot of money to have more time to yourself.
Well, I mean, you don't become entrepreneur just to get time and just to get lifestyle. You become entrepreneur because you are passionate about building something. That would be my assumption. Again, if you are doing more of the lifestyle business, then I would rather suggest that work for somebody else. Why would you take the hassle of building a business? Because obviously it is going to require a lot of effort in competing with companies. Like, even if you're a consultant, you have the subject matter expertise, but you are probably competing with larger consulting firms. Because let's say if you are doing accounting consulting or marketing consulting or whatever consulting you are doing, you are competing with somebody in the market. When you have to compete with them, you don't have your own brand. The only thing you can sell when you're starting is probably going to be your personal brand. And personal brand is only going to be solid when you have a lot of references. You have people who can trust you, who are going to give you business just because of your name. There are cases when you can get that business. In fact, there are companies who will actually leave the consulting firm just because of that person, because they know that they have given the contract just because of that person. So most consultants, when they actually move to the entrepreneurship, that's how they actually get the contracts. But after that, they struggle to get additional business because they never sort of figured out how to do sales and marketing. And if you actually want to build your business, if you want to build a company, you have to figure out how to build a scalable, repeatable revenue engine. You cannot simply rely on your personal contacts, because today they trust you, tomorrow they may not.
So a lot of people, they think that being an entrepreneur or having a consultancy is just making connections and trying to find business on different websites. But you're mentioning, no, you have to be a sales and marketing expert and you need to push your brand out there. Now, what are some of the ways that somebody can do that if they literally have no idea how to do that?
Yeah. So again, I'll give you some examples of what other people have done. One of the ways could be you hire somebody who is better in sales and marketing, but most times that approach may not work, because the sales and marketing people, when you are going to hire the professional sales and marketing people, they are going to ask you, okay, if you have existing customers, if you have customer references, if you have all of that, then I can sell for you. If you don't have all of that, then maybe I cannot sell for you. So when you are trying to, let's say, if you are trying to get to $1 million, to be honest, you really need to sell your personal brand in the consulting business. If you're trying to develop, your sales and marketing people may not work for you. But at the same time, one of the things that you can do as a consultant when you are starting out, build your thought leadership. Okay. And you can do that better than anybody else in the market. You can actually compete out other Fortune 500 companies in thought leadership, because they are going to monitor every single penny and cent. You are doing this for your passion. Okay, this is your brains that you are dumping down on Google. You are probably creating a blog, maybe YouTube, maybe podcast. If you do all of that, you can have real strong subject matter expertise built for yourself. And if you do that, then probably you would not require as much help in the sales and marketing department, where you have to either do some sort of outbound sales or marketing. But once you actually get to, let's say, 5 million, sorry, the $5 million, $10 million, then obviously things are going to be slightly easier, because you can hire professional people. You are going to have far stronger references. You are going to get business because of those customers that you have acquired because of your personal brand.
Right. And we have to assume that at least the large majority of the people listening to this are going to be people who either don't have $5 million in sales per year, or don't even have $5,000 per year either. Like, we're talking entrepreneurs who are trying to get to a certain level, consultants that want to achieve certain results. They can't quite break through the obstacles and challenges that come with entrepreneurship and consultancy. So if you had to give people that are listening 3 important tips to just forget the $5 million and forget the $10 million, let's start with making $1,000 a month. 3 tips on how to get you to $1,000 a month as a consultant. What would you say to them?
So number one, go to your personal network and figure out how you can get business from them. Number two, really build your subject matter expertise online, so that people who might not be part of your network can trust because of your knowledge and subject matter expertise. There are several different ways that you can do that. In most cases, it is either going to be some sort of blog, social media, or podcast, whatever you are comfortable with, whatever skills you have to figure out how to do this in the cheapest manner, as opposed to spending, let's say, $100,000, $200,000. So really figure out, how you can do free marketing. Number 3, again, network, figure out how to build the relationship even outside of your network. So go to as many networking events as you can go to, and figure out how you can help them get some business. If you do that, then most likely it'll come back. That's what personally I have done, and that's what personally I do, to be honest. I try to help, especially when you are doing the consulting business. It's always going to be, let's say, if you are selling marketing services, if you have an accountant, if you can help that accountant, then most likely they are going to be talking to a lot of customers. And if they come across any references, they will send it to you, because they know that you had sent some referrals. So that's how you sort of build your reference channels. So I don't know if I'm clear or not.
Let's talk about networking for a second, because we're in a post-COVID world where we're still having to deal with the virus and not being able to go to networking events anymore. Can't shake hands, can't pass around business cards. A lot of it is obviously online, and there's maybe some in-person stuff. But I come from a world where I used to go to a lot of networking events.
Yeah.
And I did try to help people and, try to get business out of people. And this is years and years of doing this. But what I found was a lot of people like me, people who were also looking for business, people who were also looking for investors, people who were also looking for help. And so there wasn't a lot of room for collaboration and or hiring, because they also were in the same boat where they were trying to get to $5,000 a month in sales. I was trying to get to $5,000 a month in sales. And so we just couldn't really help each other, because we were all in the same boat. And when you're all in the same boat, how do you help each other out? So I'm a little skeptical about the networking approach. So what would you recommend to people in this pandemic environment where you can't go to networking events? What would be a different approach?
So again, you have to be creative, and you have to be super strategic when it comes to networking. A lot of people randomly go to any networking event and they are trying to help everybody out. You have got 24 hours in a day. So what you have to figure out is how you can find the people who are actually hanging out with your customers in the account that you are trying to close. For example, in my case, let's say we sell ERP systems. So for us, the customer is going to be your CFOs and CEOs. My target, customer is going to be manufacturing organization. Now, if I go to a networking event where insurance people are hanging out, or real estate people are hanging out, or the restaurant people are hanging out, that's not the right fit for me. I'm actually wasting my time. So I had to figure out how I can hang out with the manufacturers or the service companies that are actually serving the manufacturers. If they have 200 accounts, they are only going to introduce you to their clients when you have that trust built up. because if you are going for the very tight-knit community, such as manufacturing, it's very trust-based business. So even if you figure out, let's say, how to make cold calls and emails, you might still not win the business, because it works from the referral channel perspective. So
makes a lot of sense. It's really identifying the type of customer or networking you're looking for. It's not the throw darts at the wall and one of them will stick. You really want to pinpoint the bullseye and try to find the right customer, the right person to collaborate with. Makes perfect sense, especially with this virus. Now people can do it online. They can go on LinkedIn. They can really kind of look for the right industry. Start looking for referrals. Makes a lot of sense. Where can people learn more about you online, and what kind of services do you offer online that people can find?
Yeah, so we are in the ERP business, and if people might not be familiar with what an ERP is, these are the order processing systems for product-based companies, for service-based companies, and if we help with selection, we help with any sort of integration related to ERP, and then we do the implementation and training as well.
Cool.
So yeah, and I'm super popular, to be honest. ElevatIQ is the business name, ElevatIQ. Just Google it, you will find me, or simply fill the contact form on ElevatIQ.com.
ElevatIQ.com, guys, to check out Sam Gupta. Thanks so much for joining me, man. It was a pleasure to have you on my show.
Thank you so much, Jason, for inviting me. I had a blast here.
Awesome. Hope everybody enjoyed and learned something, and we will see everyone in next week's episode.